Hi, I'm Rachel and welcome to the Washing Up Chronicles, where I talk about the ups and downs and what's making the rounds in my home ed world. The premise of this was that I will be doing everyday normal jobs and chores and talking about my day. The problem is my house is at that stage right now where it's definitely messy enough for chores to happen, but too messy for me to put that on the internet. And I'm a pretty open book, so you can imagine how messy it is. Just been one of those weeks where there just doesn't seem to be time. Like we've got time to do things that generate the mess, but not necessarily time or inclination to clear up the mess. So instead I decided to not just pretend and make up a job that I could do that felt more palatable for the internet, that I would just sit and have my cup of tea, which is exactly what I would be doing if I wasn't recording this. So again, it's Thursday night, my kids are in bed. I think most of them are asleep. And yeah, time to reflect on how the week's gone. Just in case you think that somehow the evenings are seamless in the Campbell household, I've edited out all the times I've had to shout, "Go to bed," because I hear someone coming down the stairs. So yeah, bedtimes, let's start with the downs. Bedtimes have been a down this week, and that might not seem particularly home ed related, but it definitely has a massive knock-on effect. My youngest is at that time where I thought he was giving up naps. And if he does nap during the day, then bedtime becomes a bit of an issue, or he wakes up incredibly early. And we kind of just got in the habit of waking up incredibly early. But then when he went to stay with my parents, they said he slept no naps and slept from about 6 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. So of course, that is now this miracle that I'm searching for. But he cannot stay awake. And if there's any kind of quiet time or downtime between 12 and 4 o'clock, then he's out like a light. So we've worked really hard today for him not to nap, because it has made bedtime a nightmare. And if I lose those precious hours in the evenings, then I can't get my work done. And I then in the morning I'm trying to catch up on work, and I'm not able to prep or get things ready for their home ed stuff, and then it just becomes this whole thing. So bedtimes have been the down this week. But the up, and the reason why I feel like this is the most boring thing on the internet right now, listening to a middle-aged white woman talk about her bedtime issues. But it's about to get more exciting. I'm going to talk about planning. The ups of my week is I planned, and when I say plan, it's definitely way more for me. I enjoy the process of doing it, and we don't have a very tight schedule, so it's more jotting down notes really. But planning and thinking things through more strategically has been really helpful. Not because it's meant that we've done those things, because we've probably only done about 30% of what I planned, and then switched out about 20% with something different, and then 50% that we just haven't done but want to do. One of the things that's helped is to pinpoint the problem areas, that not the right word, but the things that maybe lead to frustration in the week. So for example, me realizing if the bedtime routine, if I lose hours in the evening, then that means we don't get our plans established the next morning, because I'm kind of chasing my head around. That's another phrase. Chasing my tail, losing my head, one of those two. So yes, it's helped pinpoint some of those things. So that was a high of the week. And also because I always know that when I plan a week, it's probably going to last 2 weeks. So that's a plus. So I can get a bit more prepared this weekend. The other plus is, I'm going to actually drink my tea. The other plus is that we have found a new home ed group well, it's just started up and we kind of snuck in because really it's for older kids and they're definitely underserviced in the home ed world. So I get that, and we were like, we don't want to take any older kids places, but there was space. So it's an allotment club. So someone has very kindly kind of given over their allotment for each family to have like a patch, and they'll help us, especially people like me that know nothing, kind of from the very start, learn how to prepare it and grow things, and you get to keep what you've grown. And then one of the people who organised it makes delicious soup, and it's just like this. It was just a really lovely, simple, straightforward afternoon, and like very physical work. And we actually found worms, which we've been hunting for our nature studies for the last 2 weeks. We found worms, and I'm so glad that we went and cut us down. I found myself quite stressed this week, and you know those moments where you're like, I could push through or I could relax, and it's hard to know which like the best thing is, because sometimes the best moment is to completely give yourself grace, to say like, right, watch a movie, I'm just going to sit in silence at the kitchen table drinking my tea and just like switch off from everything. But then sometimes the answer is like pushing through, even if it's a thing that you don't want to do. Today was definitely pushing through, even though I think it was more stubbornness than wisdom that made me do it. But it was absolutely the right thing to do, because I found the group really, really helpful for me. Just doing like physical work where you have to think about what you're doing, because you don't want to like chop off anyone's hand off with your spade while you're digging. So you've got to concentrate, but it's not like taking up multi-levels of your brain. So I'm an expert now after 2 hours of gardening, but I now see why people like gardening. So yeah, that was a high. So what's making the rounds in my home ed world? Well, I'll start with a high that I forgot to mention that kind of made this hit home to me a little bit more this week. So on Monday we went to see a friend that I hadn't seen for almost 2 years, the longest we'd not seen each other because of COVID, and it was lovely to catch up, and it was a lovely day. But even though I carefully budget out how much we would spend on an adventure like that, for some reason, well, I know the reason, it was raining, it was wet, we'd said goodbye to our friend. I just, there are like certain, and maybe it's just me, but there's certain towns that you visit. So this is kind of rural-ish North Yorkshire town, and you kind of feel obliged to sit and have a hot chocolate or a cup of tea somewhere. Like that just seems like the thing. And then there was this cafe that was a dog cafe as well, and my middle child loves dogs, is desperate for one. We're not going to get one. And I thought, oh, how amazing will that be? We'll go in there, we'll have a cup of tea, a hot chocolate, there's all these dogs around, and my toddler had fallen asleep in the pram, and I thought like this, I'm not going to have to worry about the like toddler in a small space. So we go in there, and it was like a small space, and you get the pram in, and you kind of feel embarrassed that everyone's had to move out the way because you're pushing the pram in, and everyone's taking off all the coats and layers, and you just feel like this like show in the middle of this cafe. There are all these adorable dogs. I near the toilet, so then you're asking someone, can you just watch my kids while I run to the toilet? And so you feel like obliged to stay there. And I should have noticed a red flag. There are no prices anywhere, so I should have noticed this. But I was too busy looking at these cupcakes that I thought looked really nice and was about to order, and then they told me that those were for dogs. So I'm already feeling a little bit self-conscious. And so I ask if they do like hot chocolates for kids, like smaller versions, cheaper versions. And they're like, oh no, but we can do that for you. So then you feel like even more obliged. And all the time I'm thinking there aren't any prices up anywhere. And this is a town that seems full of quite well-to-do people. But I'm stuck. I'm like literally stuck in this space because it takes so much effort to get a pram in there. And we've taken off all our layers, so it would take like 3 hours to get everyone ready to go back in again. So I just committed to it. But the whole time I'm thinking, this is gonna cost a bomb. And it cost way more than even I thought. And so I doubled in like one 20-minute session, doubled the budget that I'd set myself for the day. And I was kicking myself. And it's done. The kids really liked the hot chocolate. Well, they liked the 3 mouthfuls that they had, and I liked the rest that then I had to drink really quickly. The tea was terrible. But overall, it was a nice experience, but very costly. And obviously the news is full of all the prices rising, and you can't like help but notice it. And I also know that a lot of people are feeling it, because anytime I mention anything to do with money and income, because I think it's important that we talk about it, I get messages and talk to people, conversations about the struggles of home ed and spending money, and sometimes doing it out of guilt for our kids because we want them to experience certain things. Like I signed up very quickly for some online classes that they seemed great, but were just not right for my kids. And because I kind of felt like, oh, everyone else is doing this, everyone's enthusiastic about it. Oh, and my kids like, oh, they need to be doing like more things, so I'll sign up. And then like that money was wasted really, because we just haven't accessed it at all. And so that like enthusiasm at best and comparison at worst, or guilt or shame even, that makes us spend money. But also it can be expensive, or not even expensive, it can just have lots of little things that add up, because you are providing everything for your child that otherwise a school would. So yeah, I have no solutions, except I think we need to talk about it more, and I try and do that. And I think everyone needs to be transparent about expenses. I mean, not everyone feels comfortable doing that, so that I get it, but I would love us to be at a point where we can all just talk about the ups and downs and the costs of home ed, because that's the only way that any change can happen. I'd love to chat to you more, so below you can find ways to contact me, or you can leave a comment, or you can join our Facebook group to talk about these issues. But yes, definitely get in touch, and it feels cheesy saying it, but if you can press the like button, then that means more home educators get to, I was going to say benefit from this. I don't know how much of a benefit it is, but get to enter in the conversations that we're having. So if you do think it's worthwhile to have those conversations, then definitely press like. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to me. I'd love to return the favour with any kind of conversations you want to have about home ed, then definitely get in touch. But take care and have a good week.